All right, welcome to the Jimmy Rex Show. I am here today with the founder of Homie, Johnny Hanna, and I am very excited for this interview. As a real estate agent, obviously, if you are from the state of Utah, you've seen Homie with their billboards on I-15, and they're kind of a disruptor in the industry that I've been in for the last 13 years, so it's been fun for me to kind of get to know a little bit more about this company. And so, Johnny, appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I think people are interested, as you know, the founder, CEO of Homie. Give us a little bit about your background, your business background, and how you kind of came to be the CEO and found this company.
Yeah, so we started a little over 2 years ago, and I created a company called Property Solutions, co-founded that with a few other friends of mine. It's now called Entrada, and it was real estate software. Real estate software to help people move into apartments, real estate software to help property managers manage their business. So there were so many similarities. It made a lot of sense when I heard about this idea. So I was at Entrada for about 12 years. I had a friend that approached me when he heard that I was planning on leaving. I had a going away party that afternoon. He approached me and said, "Hey, I have this idea." I thought it was a pretty good idea. I wasn't quite sure. I wanted to look a little bit more into it. I wondered why companies like Zillow hadn't done this before, or why, tech hadn't made this happen already. So I wasn't sold. But he told me the name was Homie, and I was sold on the name. I'm like, I'm a homie, let's do this.
Yeah, it's a good name. It's well, from a marketing standpoint, I'm a marketer first, I think. I kind of look at myself that way as well. And, even your choice, I was talking to you about your billboards, your choice of color, it's very easy to recognize. It's not seen anywhere else on anything, essentially. And so, it is a very good name for a home sales company, essentially.
Yeah, some people hate it, some people love it, but it's memorable.
Sure, yeah. It's in one word, easy to remember. Yeah. Well, before you got into property, so tell us a little bit, because I was researching your background a little bit, and it's fascinating. You have a very cool background. A lot of, I think, some of the things that I've seen in your company, what you've done, kind of, I think, come from this background that you've had. Your mom was a VP for Boeing. A little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about growing up. You're from Montana. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I grew up on a cattle ranch in Colorado. My dad moved us to Montana when I was about 6.
Okay.
My parents split up, pretty quickly into moving to Montana. My mom moved us back to Colorado, so I lived back and forth. But yeah, my mom had to, provide a living for her and us as kids. My older sister and I grew up together, and yeah, she became a secretary for a little cattle ranching operation, and then somebody from there said, "Hey, there's an opening at McDonnell Douglas," that eventually got acquired by Boeing. And then she's been at Boeing for about 30 years, and she's just climbed the corporate ladder, and super proud of her. My dad ended up leaving the cattle business and moving to Montana, getting into construction.
Okay.
So I learned that from him as well. But yeah, that's a little of my background.
And so growing up in two places, Colorado and Montana, quite a bit different, even though a lot of people, if you're from back east, you probably think it's the same state. But out here, you recognize, and in Montana, what were some of the things that you learned from your dad at a young age? I know in one of your interviews when you were talking at BYU, you mentioned your dad, and I thought this was kind of funny, but he turned the side of your house into a billboard, which, since you guys have so many billboards here in Utah, tell us about your dad and kind of that attitude that he had towards life, that I think some of the traits that you've benefited from.
Yeah, I don't know if I was happy with him growing up. He made me work nonstop. I saw my friends playing, t-ball or home run derby, and I had to work every single day doing construction, roofing, painting, baling hay, whatever it was. So he had a zeal for life. He just had an incredible amount of energy. But yeah, the billboard story, he ended up joining the Mormon church. Mormon missionaries knocked on our door.
Okay.
And he had actually done a lot of research in religion over his lifetime and wasn't quite sure that he had found anything that really resonated with him. But when he found the Mormon church, he ended up reading the Book of Mormon, and he was blown away. And he had as much of a testimony as anybody you would ever meet. So he wanted to share what he felt hadn't been shared with him in his 30 years of life.
Okay.
And so he decided to paint on our house in letters, about that big, saying, "The Book of Mormon is true. Read it." and it was actually that very day that my mom left him.
The day he painted the house.
The day he painted on the house. So he did it because it was facing the highway. It was facing my school that I was at. I was in 2nd grade. So he wanted everybody to see it. And he had so much zeal. He wanted to share it with the world. But, I think, he did it just regardless of what anybody else said, just felt like he had to move forward.
Gotcha. And so was that was that kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back? You said that was the day your mom left.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was kind of the final thing. He was he looked like a religious zealot. I mean, he was a religious zealot.
You
paint on your house, you're a religious zealot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the fire burning within him, and I think he did what he felt he needed to do. But my mom, I ended up moving with her, and she's my mother. I love her, and yeah, I'm proud of her and what she's accomplished.
Oh, that's great. Well, and how did that? I mean, as a kid, how did it affect you once you had that on your house, with friends and things like that? Was that something that you had mostly LDS friends growing up, or was that something that you had to kind of fight a little bit of a stigma because of?
Yeah, I mean, in Colorado, nobody knew when I moved back,
yeah.
So that was, that wasn't anything I had to deal with. But when I moved to Montana, I just worked so much, it didn't really matter. I honestly, all the kids played, and I didn't really play with them. I went and played, home run derby at night when we got back from work, if there was still sunlight left.
Yeah.
But yeah, the neighborhood kids were cool, and their parents probably thought I was kind of an oddball coming from my dad. But.
Well, and so did you pick up your tech background as a child? Did you in Colorado and Montana, or when did you kind of get into that space? Because that's really where your career kind of went towards.
Yeah, I think being in construction with my dad kind of pushed me away from wanting to do hard manual labor. I think I'm a little soft in that sense. So, yeah, my dad makes fun of my hands not having calluses. He feels like they're smooth women hands.
Yeah, you're not working if you don't have a hammer in your hand.
Yeah. If something's not bleeding or
I
don't know. Yeah, he's got oil and everything inside of every fingernail. But so I think just it was really hard work, hard labor, and he did teach me to work smart as well. Mm-hmm. And I think with the internet coming into play right when I was graduating high school, there was so many opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of happened. I don't know if I necessarily planned on it.
Got it. So I think a lot of people with tech, sometimes you kind of just stumble upon that being your career. Was there a moment when you were like, this is what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, go into this tech field? Or was that something that kind of just came about for how your journey
went? That moment still hasn't happened.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like life has just kind of happened and opportunities have showed up, and I've made a decision and kept moving forward. But yeah, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
I got you. No, that's great. I always tell people, people are always like, oh, you go do all this different stuff. And I'm like, I feel like my journey hasn't started.
Yeah.
I really do. I feel like, I don't know what lies ahead. Maybe I die tomorrow. But I feel like there's something out there that will end up being my story that's yet to be told.
Yeah, I don't want to be defined as being in software or real estate or whatever. I mean, I feel like I'm a person. I'm beyond that. But I think we all try to categorize each other into, he's a firefighter, she's a teacher, he's an entrepreneur, technologist, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we all have so many different passions, and we do whatever we can to make a living.
For sure. Well, and you, speaking of that, I mean, you're a very balanced human. From what I've understood, you have 6 kids.
Yep.
And tell me about that. I mean, how do you balance building giant tech companies on top of having 6 kids? I can only imagine. I have 0 kids, and I know how hard I work. And it's like, to mix in the time to have 6 kids. Tell us your secret on that, or some examples of things that you've done to balance that.
My wife and I communicate nonstop, and I think that's the key. And I share with her what I did this morning when I called her for lunch. Mm-hmm. When I go home, I'll tell her about this interview. We have really good discussions. And when starting Homey, she said, look, I know what it takes to start up a company, and I don't want to lose you. So we set pretty good boundaries that, I'm going to be home at 6 every night. But when the kids go down, if there's fires I need to put out, I can get back on later on. Or if I'm just excited about something and want to get back to it, I think a lot of people will watch Netflix or whatever after putting the kids down. Yeah. So, there's different passions that we have there, but we treat them like two startups. I think you look at your business, you don't necessarily know how you're going to get your next client or how your next marketing initiative is going to work. When you have a kid, you don't know how you're going to pay for them or what's going to happen. And that's just kind of how we treat it. So when I go home, I have a whole separate business to focus on. And I don't just come home and, hang it up and let my wife do the work. She has a full-time job 24 hours a day.
Sure.
I have 2 full-time jobs. and just try to split my time between the two. So that's how we look at it.
Wow, no, that's great. And I think too often people try to separate those too much, right? And then it's, then you be the one that raises the kids, the wife, and and I think everybody to have their dad there and really get that benefit. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
So, what kind of stuff do you enjoy doing with your family, with your kids? Do you guys travel with family? Are they sports? What kind of stuff do you do when you're with your family?
I like acting like a kid.
Okay.
I really enjoy being a kid again, and I mentioned I did a lot of construction, so I didn't get to play a lot. So I'm excited to play now. I love to go to trampoline parks, probably more than my kids like to go to trampoline parks.
Just playing dodgeball, you're the big guy just drilling all your kids out.
That's exactly what happens. Yeah. So I have no shame, but I drill the little kids. Yeah. But we also do a lot of family trips together, and we just bought with 6 kids, we filled up our Suburban. I just sold it yesterday.
Oh, congrats.
So we bought a 12-passenger Nissan van.
Oh, wow.
So and I bought the license plate Vantion. So it's our little Vantion that we travel around in, and we have a really good time. But yeah, it's enough room to spread out. He's not breathing my air. He's not touching me. Like you got a seat in between. Yeah. So
well, nice. I grew up. I have 6 siblings, so there's 7 of us, and I love it. Like our family, my family is everything as far as like that time you get, and it's having that many kids. As you get older, it's an even bigger blessing. Now I have 26 nieces and nephews.
Crazy.
6 kids. It's pretty rare in today's day. Do you get weird looks when you guys go out and go to the grocery store?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but we bought the 12-passenger van to fill up every seat. So
you guys aren't done yet.
Yeah.
Are you really going to have 12 kids?
No, but we want to have more for sure. Yeah, we love it. It's been great, and
good for you, man.
I think it's a good balance. Like there's stresses at work. There's crazy things that happen. So when you go home, it's nice to just have that reset button when you see these little kids that don't have stress, and that are clueless to the world and just want to go to the trampoline park.
Well, and I bet having those kids and this great relationship with your wife, I think it probably helps you in work to make sure your why stays, at the top of everything. Mm-hmm. You have a huge why.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's a big focus. We love Simon Sinek.
Yep.
And try to have a why in everything that we do. But that being said, as a family, we try to have our goals and our values and our mission almost similar to a business setting. So we try to treat both of them very similar to, a business where we have strategy meetings. We talk about each individual kid, and employees at a company. You want to talk about each employee and see how to help them maximize their value, how to help them succeed. Same thing, I think, in the family.
So. I gotcha. Okay. So jumping a little bit more back into the career side and kind of what you're doing now, I was going to ask you, the question I had was, how did you come up with the name Homie? Because it's such a good name. So it sounds like you had a buddy that you kind of co-founded it with?
He already had the name. He's actually from East LA, so he was kind of a homie. Yeah. But he grew up in Vegas then for a little while and moved up here, married a girl from Utah. He was a VC at Mercado Partners. And then one of our other co-founders was one of our co-founders at Entrada. His name's Mike Triunfo. He was our CTO.
Okay.
So we have a really good crew. But the name Homie, I think everybody that's come on has been attracted to that name. Everybody but my wife.
Oh, she doesn't like the name.
She hates it.
Yeah, what does she hate about
she might like it better, but she hated it because I overused it before I even came here. So I was calling everybody my homie, and then she's like, "You're gonna start a company called Homie?" Like she's like, "You're gonna overuse it even more now." So she was a little scared to do that.
That's pretty funny. That's good. Well, I remember the first time I heard the name, I think I saw one of your billboards or whatever else. And by the way, how many billboards are there currently in Utah right now? I got to know your billboard budget. You've got to give me something.
It's a lot. It's a very high budget for billboards, no question. But I don't know the exact count. My director of marketing, he's amazing. He was the founder and CEO of SEO.com and Fit Marketing. His name's Dave Bascom. Brilliant. And he's more of a digital marketer than anything. So billboards kind of go against what he's used to, but they've been really effective for us. So I think we have about 12 just up and down I-15.
I-15. Yeah. Well, I always say, like if you're going to do one billboard, it's not really going to make a difference. Yeah. If you're going to do it, you have to take that entire market. I think the amount of times you touch somebody when they see your billboard over and over, right?
Yeah.
I did a billboard last year I was talking a little bit about with the Trump and Hillary thing. Instead of, if you're moving to Canada, I'll sell your house. And I honestly did it just as a joke. It was my way of giving the middle finger to both of them because I didn't think there was any good candidates. But I don't think I got a single call of like somebody that was like, hey, now I want to sell my house. What I got a lot of was the people that already know me. It reiterated in their minds over and over, Jimmy, real estate, Jimmy, Jimmy's my realtor.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same thing with you guys. It's
Absolutely.
over and over, people see it, and it's like, okay, there is another way to maybe do this.
Yeah. I mean, having back-to-back billboards like we do on the point of the mountain, those are perfect for us. Yeah, and then wherever else we put them, I think the repetitive nature of it definitely helps in terms of marketing to the general public.
Gotcha. And so I guess you guys, you have two models. You got the buyers and the sellers, obviously, with real estate. And we've talked a little bit about this. I think people are like, when I told people I was interviewing you, you know, they're like, wait, don't you guys hate each other? I'm like, no, like, I don't lose market share to homie, and they aren't probably losing market share to me. I've kind of set myself up and tried to stand out. You know, that's why I went and got a master's in real estate development. I wanted to be an expert where people can know they're coming to Jimmy because he negotiates like an expert. He knows the agents. He knows to get the, if there's multiple offers, his will get accepted, all these things. And you've been on the record saying multiple times you're not anti-agent, you're pro-technology. In fact, you guys now are agents.
Yeah, we are.
Tell us a little bit about why the need. What was your experience with real estate, and what need did you see that lacked that caused you to want to start an entire company behind it?
Yeah, I don't think I ever had a bad experience. I've hired many agents to help me buy and sell homes in the past. I think for me the hardest part was just the 6%. That high commission charge I felt was just too much, and I felt like for the majority of Americans, or the cookie cutter homes that you and I talked about, a lot of those sell themselves in a hot market like this, to where if you have a team of attorneys, which we do, we can help you with a contract and help you with some of those difficult pieces, and make it a simple process and save you a bunch of money in the meantime. So it was more, I think, of a business opportunity using the infrastructure that's already in place. Like most people find their home on Zillow today. So without Zillow, I don't think we'd exist. But the fact that Zillow is there, and a lot of people can go and see their own home and find it, and then ask us to help them tour the home, that's invaluable. Where we don't have to, back in the day, open a 3-ring binder and show all the homes that are available.
Right.
Like the internet's done so much.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that can and should be automated in the process that honestly hadn't been in a lot of sectors as well, right? And I kind of look at it as like, I disrupted my own industry in 2009. I became, the investment expert well before anybody else was doing that, and I rode that for about 4 or 5 years before everyone else caught up. With technology and real estate, that's why I don't have any animosity towards you or any other tech company. I mean, if I can either look at you as a friend and a way to balance, what I'm doing, because somebody's going to disrupt it, and you kind of mentioned that as well. You worry more about other disruptors, even now, you said, than the old model of real estate agents.
Yeah, I mean, I think my career in technology, I see that things are moving at such a fast pace that if I don't think about who's going to disrupt me, I'll be out. And so for us, I mean, we're looking beyond what we're doing now. That's why we became a mortgage company as well. If people disrupt us on this space and helping buy and sell, we now have kind of this backup on mortgage to make our money there if we need to lower our fees even more. If somebody comes after us on that and the mortgage piece, we're now looking down the road on automating the whole process, and even being a lender where we're collecting the payment every single month, and selling moving services, or selling. So
your vision is much bigger than just being the real estate agent. You kind of want to, that is where it goes, oversee the entire real estate process, from the loan, the mortgage, even housing the loan after it's sold.
Yeah, and we're not going to do all those pieces right this second, but I mean, we're thinking about that constantly because the world is moving so quickly.
Fast. Yeah. Well, and it really is interesting how real estate has kind of lagged some of the other industries in the technology field. I do think there's a personal touch there that, there's always going to be a huge need.
I agree.
For real estate agents, right? I know that, and I hope the industry gets to a point where you guys or companies like yours wash out some of that, because the barrier to entry to be a real estate agent can be pretty easy. And unfortunately, as we talked about, that can give us a bad name. So what specifically do you see as far as in the real estate agent that you don't think can be replaced by technology?
I think that personal touch. I think we did a poor job initially advertising our company as an app. We said your thumb doesn't charge commissions.
Sure.
And so everyone's like, oh, they're an app, but I can't just trust an app to help me sell my home. I need to talk to somebody, you know. And we're like, no, we do. We have agents. We have lawyers, you know. So we're like, and then we're like, okay, our billboards probably were too effective. You know, we're not just an app, but no, that personal touch I think is important, and your expertise on knowing that local market. I think the top agents are going to be around for a long period of time. And as we were talking about earlier too, we are agents, and so we don't want agents to go away, you know, because that's who we are. So yeah, I think it's a mix of better marketing for us in that sense, but yeah, I think that personal touch is key to so many transactions.
So what, I guess, from here, you've kind of, now you've got a feel for the real estate community, that you've had a lot of backlash. I know I've had a lot of colleagues that, you know, I guess even a couple of the real estate companies kind of put up anti-homey billboards over it. Tell us a little bit, did that affect you guys for the positive or the negative? Or?
Yeah, we weren't sure if we were doing something right until we saw a few of those billboards, you know, and we're like, man, you know, people are taking notice.
Yeah.
And we actually had a lot of calls saying, hey, I didn't even know who you were until I saw your name, homie, on some of these other billboards from other companies. So yeah, it was great. And not that we want backlash, but a lot of it has driven business our way. But I don't know. I like to be liked. I'm not antagonistic. I think you mentioned something earlier too about like how we were attacking the industry, and we never felt that way. But I think just our mere existence seems that way. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure some of the different messaging, we don't see how that might be received on the other end. But
yeah, I think anytime you come in like you did, I mean, you literally just littered I-15 with billboards and basically saying you don't need a real estate agent.
Yeah,
that's how it came off in a lot of ways, right? And then it's, you know, as I kind of dug in, I'm like, wait, these guys are real estate agents. Like, I think the marketing, like you said, a little bit at the beginning, kind of got lost of what was going on. And that was
even now, I think there's changes we need to make on the marketing. But yeah, I think it's definitely been a challenge. But I think any industry that's getting disrupted, there's fear, and that fear can cause you to react poorly, negatively, you know, and attack the other side. So we've been attacked, but it's not anything that's hurting us. We realize this industry is huge. Yeah. There's so much opportunity for all of us to exist in this space, but every single person has to pay attention to technology and to what's happening and to adjust.
Yeah.
And that's just the way we see it.
So what do you see specifically? I know you said that, you know, you've got some big goals here, obviously, with this company, some things you want to do. What do you see the real estate market looking like as far as from a consumer standpoint in 10 years from now, say? Like, what do you see the process looking like?
I think there's going to be 1,000 companies just like us. That's how I see it. And I think then there's going to be a lot of experts separate from our company, or even within our company, that might be the white glove expert that can analyze this specific situation. So I just think tech is going to educate consumers more and more. Millennials are going to want to do more and more from their phones and future generations. So yeah, I think it's inevitable, regardless if Homey succeeds or not. Tech is here to stay. It's coming. I know a lot of companies have done kind of a discount broker model before, and they've come and gone.
What does make you do? Because in 2000, I got in 2005, and when I came into the business, you know, it was kind of a similar market to what we had the last few years, in the sense that it was definitely a seller's market, right? It wasn't that hard to sell your house. And when I got in, all these flat fee companies started popping up, $299, $399. I mean, even much cheaper than what you guys charge. And they were everywhere, right? And people, I think, once the market turned even a little bit, they all just went away. Mm-hmm. And so what, I guess, I've had this question more than any other question about you guys, is what's going to happen, or what will change with you guys versus them when the market slows down? Because we are in a seller's market where obviously it's easier to use a discounted situation. What makes you guys different than the ones that went before you?
Yeah, I think technology, for one. Like back then, Zillow didn't exist, or you know, they probably were just getting going in San Francisco around that same time, 05, 06. But now what used to be private on the MLS is now public. So people now have access to every single home. So we actually have had about 30 transactions that have happened where buyers and sellers meet on our platform and we never talk to them, and they transact completely. And I think that's given us glimpses of what the future looks like. And a lot of those people, they're not first-time home buyers. A lot of those people are just experienced home buyers that have bought 2 or 3
they've done
homes.
it multiple times before.
Yeah.
They have investment properties. Maybe.
Yeah, and we also have investment property people that come in and do the same thing. So, yeah, people that have a little bit more knowledge. Some people were former real estate agents, and so our platform just makes it even easier for them just to take care of it. We post your home on all the major websites. We're getting 8,000 views per home on Facebook, in addition to the MLS viewings and all these other things. So, like, social media is changing the game on, and I don't think, everybody wants their Facebook feed littered with new homes for sale.
Sure. I know it's the quickest way for me to get blocked on Facebook. Yeah. I mean, you guys obviously are a company that does that. So people, if they like your page, they're expecting it. When people like me, that are like the last thing, I always say social media is like a room full of random friends.
Yeah.
So if you walk into a room full of random friends and you're like, hey guys, look at this new home I'm selling, they're all like, what's wrong with you? Like, we're here to hang out. But obviously as a real estate tech company, I think that's...
Yeah, so that technology didn't exist 10 years ago. Zillow didn't exist 10 years ago. All of those things combined with consumer behavior shifting, people are now buying cars online. You can only buy a Tesla online here in Utah.
Sure.
But consumer behavior shifted. In my old company, we tried to get people to pay rent online in 03, 04, 05. Nobody would do it. Nobody trusted putting their credit card information online, renting an apartment.
Right.
Today, we have like 90% participation amongst our apartment communities from Entrada. So it's consumer behavior shifted, people more comfortable. You can get ratings and reviews on websites, so you can trust the internet and trust the providers that you're working with. So I think all those things are important. And for us in a hot market, we don't take credit for selling the home. We do agree that homes are selling themselves in a hot market. But in a down market where we feel it'll be a little bit different is with all of those tools and consumer behavior, as the market turns, people won't have as much money to spend on commissions. So we feel that will be more of a necessity in a bad market.
So that'll kind of help shield you guys against if the market in general, say 20% less homes are selling, you see your market share actually increasing because less people are going to want to have to use an agent.
And we've talked to people at Redfin that went through the downturn, and they're kind of a discount broker model.
Yeah.
And that's what occurred for them too. Their market share actually increased in the markets that they were in because people that just purchased a home for $250,000. If the market turns, it might only be worth $245,000.
Sure. You
can't even afford 1% commission in that instance.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people have to adjust their prices. And I know that the real estate community adjusts their prices in those instances too.
Well, and I'm kind of interested to see in general what's going to happen because I have so many agent friends that have gotten in the business in the last 6 or 7 years and they've never had a bad market. I was lucky enough to get in 2005, so I went through the worst market you can possibly go through, and I survived it. I did fine as well, and I just worked so hard in that time frame. I can't work that hard again. I hope it's not like that. Yeah. But I hope I've built enough now where I've sold almost 2,000 homes where when it turns down, I expect my market share to go through the roof. Because I think that's where people are either going to go to a discount like yourselves or they want the expert. They know like, hey, if I'm going to sell my home, I need somebody that knows what they're doing from step A to step Z. So I think same as you kind of see your share going up, I see like as a top agent, my own share.
Yep, that makes sense.
Doing that same thing. But so as a startup, there's a lot of there's a lot of excitement around it, right? And there's a lot of other things like that. But do you miss having that? Because I mean, at Entrada, you guys built a giant company that's close to $1 billion company now. Yeah. And there was a lot of protection behind that, right? Like, so do you miss that a little bit? Or what's the hardest part about starting a new company after being in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the unknown. Yeah, I don't know what the future holds. Again, we might not make it as a company. Who knows? I mean, things are going really well. It looks very positive for us. Mm-hmm. But yeah, at Entrada, I had an amazing paycheck. I hired people way smarter than me to do all my work. So I was on cruise control, and that was a nice place to be.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a lot more fun now, right? I remember like when I was building my real estate career, it's such a smaller example, but it's still the same thing. Like when I was starting out, that was the funnest stuff. Like looking back, I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
So I give you credit to do it a second time, right? And I think most entrepreneurs do that, but it's like that's where the fun is, right? Where you're building something from scratch.
Yeah, there's no question. It's a lot of fun, and having a team come together and finding really amazing people that want to partner with you, like all of those things have been awesome.
Yeah.
I've met new people that I never would have known, and they're now some of my closest friends. You know, we're battling together here on a daily basis, and you know, trying to grow this thing. And it, you know, we're swinging for the fences. Nobody's ever really done this before. You know, a lot of companies have tried and fizzled out, and we're well aware of that, and our investors are well aware of that. You know, and it's but we do think it's a different day and age.
Just examples of something that maybe you thought would be easier that's been a little bit tougher, a challenge you guys have had, and how you've overcome that. You have an example in particular of something that comes to your mind?
Well, I think I think I mentioned I like to be liked.
Okay.
You know, and so I think what's hard is the backlash that we have had from the real estate community in general. And you know, there's things that we deserve backlash on. There's no question. You know, it's been hard to communicate with us in a couple different instances, and we're trying to be better at communicating. But I think that's been tough. We're a new company. We can only reach out to so many people at once. There's currently, I think, 18,000 agents in the state of Utah.
Okay.
So
wow, is there that many now? I think we got down to like 3,500 during the downturn. So
yeah,
you can.
That would have been easier to communicate.
Oh,
yeah.
it's great. We all knew each other. You know, there's only so many of us were actually doing work every day. So
yeah, no, I mean, and so I think that those relationships, I've wanted to foster better relationships, and I don't know if, you know, I don't think we've overcome that. When you reached out to me, this is one thing that I really wanted to do, so
sure,
I appreciate it, and that's where I think, you know, helping people understand, like, we are agents. We're not anti-agent because we are agents. Yeah, and we have the same struggles that every other real estate agent has. You know, your client thinks their home is priced way too low, you know, and they want to sell it for an extra $40K, and it's like, all right, you know, go ahead. You might not get as many tours.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, you know, we're trying to make it just like everybody else. And we have a great team of people that I know care for our clients. And so, you know, on occasion we'll see the backlash, like, oh, they're just some corporate company that are funded by these big VCs in Silicon Valley, and they don't care about you. And it's like, that's not true.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand the community kind of coming together against us, and that's been the case where multiple brokerages have worked to try to shut us down, where one, that's not legal, but two, it's definitely been that's been a challenge that we haven't overcome.
Mm-hmm. I think something that's been nice to see too is, because you've talked about this, you had to pivot multiple times, and I think it's kind of helped both you guys and us other agents have to be a little bit better at what we're doing, right? Like, I know as an agent, like I was teaching a course to a Keller Williams office. That's the company I'm with.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, what do we do about homie? You know, and I was like, what do you mean, what do you do about homie? You'd be better at your job. And I was like, I literally don't know a client I've lost to them at this point.
You don't put their name on your billboard.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just be better at what you're doing. So for me personally, it kind of was like another reminder of like, okay, well, I know what I'm the best at. You know, if there's multiple offers, you want me on your team. If there's all these things that you need that human touch. But then it's like, I think the real estate community coming at you guys I've already seen have gotten much better at everything that you've hired. You said you have a whole team of experts for each layer of the process now, right? I mean, you have a team of lawyers just to read each contract now.
And help do negotiations. Yeah, so these are real estate lawyers, and they're also realtors. So yeah, I mean, we have lawyers and realtors. We try to divide the process to where, you know, our team works just on contracts all month, every month, so that they are just experts in their field to help know all the negotiation tactics and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think part of that backlash has been a bad marketing on our part, not explaining that, yeah, we have realtors that help, you know, and offer assistance. And so it's not, you know, we're bashing realtors or bashing agents because we are realtors and agents. Yeah,
sure. Well, no, and that's one of the reasons I want to have you on is just to show, you know, like that legitimately it's like I have gotten more and more in that tech space as I've made some investments and met more and more tech guys, and I appreciate it. I invested a lot of money in the stock market in Zillow because I'm like, hey, if I do get replaced by Zillow one day, I want to be happy about it, you know? So anyway, there's just things that I've kind of seen coming as well down that pipeline.
And congrats with your investment. I think it's paid off.
Hey, no, so far so good, you know. And so, well, I appreciate your time. I mean, I think this is a cool story. It'll be interesting and fun to watch what happens next. And from at least one real estate agent here in the community, we're happy to have you and welcome to the industry.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks,
it.
Man.
Yeah,
cool.